Hey, what's up, guys? This is Josh Thomas, aka DFS Up North, back here with another Fanshare Sports course preview. This week we are heading to the Farmers Insurance Open over in San Diego at Torrey Pines. We are playing both the North and the South courses this week, or the players will be. They'll play the North or the South, one each in the first two rounds. Then we'll make a cut, and they'll play the South on the weekend. We have a stacked field this week. Lots of guys wanting to get a look at Torrey before the U.S. Open is hosted here next year in 2021. So we've got Rory, John Ram, Ricky Fowler, Tiger. All of these studs are playing this week, looking to get a look here. This is a fun course. Obviously, the site of Tiger's 2008 U.S. Open Championship over Rocco Mediate in that 18-round playoff where Tiger was playing on one leg. So this is a course that a lot of people are familiar with. If you've played the old Tiger Woods golf games, you're probably pretty familiar with the South course at the very least. And it's a beast of a course. It's 7,600 yards on the South, and this is a really fun tournament and one that I'm looking forward to watching this week. Again, the field is great. It feels like we finally have like this big time golf tournament with all these studs showing up. So I'm excited for it. We'll get into it here. But first, I want to talk a little bit about some things that are happening at Fanshare Sports. The new course suitability metric. Overall, not like it was good. It picked the winner, right? Andrew Landry was number 5 in the course suitability metric. A couple other guys, some missed cuts, some struggles there. But to pull out in its top 5 course suitability plays, to have Andrew Landry in there is pretty impressive when you consider the guy was at about 1% ownership because he'd been on just an awful string of form. So one for team course history here. Improved lineup generator. We're still working out some kinks there. I was able to build 150 this week, was really excited about that. But it's only going to continue to get better as we keep working on it. And then as always, best ownership projections in the game. There's nobody that's better than Fanshare Sports. And I firmly believe that. And when you throw that on top of all the other things that you get in there, like the buzz score, the ability to just, I don't have time. I don't have time to listen to, every podcast that's out there. I got kids. I'm doing my own lineups. I'm doing golf. I'm doing NFL stuff. So I don't have time to listen to everything, right? I'd like to. I think that there's some really entertaining and good podcasts out there, but I don't have the time to do it. So the Fanshare Sports news feed that tells you who everybody's talking about, what they're saying, what sort of positive, negative spin things, whatever. I want to know, everybody else in the industry where they're at. It's all right there in one site, which I love. And if you're not a member of Fanshare Sports, you are missing out because you are going through hours and hours and hours, like days worth of content, and able to rip through it in about 5 minutes, which is pretty impressive. So if you're not a Fanshare Pro member yet, you can use that code right down here, Josh, 20% off Fanshare Pro membership. Make sure that you're getting involved there. So let's get into this week's tournament. All right. So we are going to Torrey Pines Golf Course. All right. There's the South course and the North course, both designed by William F. Bell. South course got a big redesign by Reese Jones in 2001. And then the North course was just redone 2 years ago, it's 2020 now, 4 years ago, by Tom Weisskopf. A full redesign. They flipped the front and the back. They redid every single bunker on the course. And it's definitely played a little bit easier since he's done it. I don't want to say easier. It's just played different. If you look, these are both par 72s, and they are long. They are very different courses this week. So, you'll see here in a second, one's got a lot of long par 5s, long par 3s. Like there's different courses. But they're while they're two distinct courses, I think that the big thing here is that even at 72.58, that's long, right? 76.98, like this is a long course. These are two big boy golf courses, right? You got to bring it here. I think that it's really going to benefit. And if you look at in a second here, some of the previous winners, guys who drive the ball well, not only long, but accurate. All right. You can get away with being a little inaccurate here because there's not a lot of trees on the course, especially on the South course. So if you're going to miss, you want to miss left, right, or right. And you want to miss by a long ways. Like you want to be over the gallery into the next fairway. And that's possible here, right? And because there's not a lot of trees, some of these more inaccurate golfers can get away with some shots. So that's something to keep in mind this week. Well, I think the driving accuracy is important because you want to put yourself in position off the tee. Stroke scan off the tee is important, but you can get away with some stuff here. Maybe that's why Tigers won here 8 or 7 times. Hey, maybe 8 this year. We got Kikuyu fairways, which is very common for this area. The south has bent grass with Poana, and the north has just bent grass. I wouldn't be surprised. They were planted 4 years ago. Poa is just a creeping grass that's really hard to keep out of areas. So I wouldn't be surprised if at some point here we just get the designation that we're bent with Poa here on the north as well. So it's definitely a little bit different than what we've been on. It's not Bermuda, but we're getting that Poa mix in there, especially in the afternoon. You're gonna see guys who struggle a little bit in the afternoon to putt on these greens. So I think that maybe an edge this week if you're playing showdowns are, we're going to target guys that play the North Course, especially rounds 1 and 2. And we want to target guys that play the North Course and play the North Course in the morning, right? That's where I think we're going to see the lowest scores. So if you're chasing first round leaders, you're going to play showdown on days 1 and 2. That's definitely what I want to look at. As we get into day 3 and 4, I think always I like the guys that are kind of in that 50 to 60 range. For round 3 showdown. Those are guys that they're just maybe missing one thing in their game right now. That's why they're not further up the leaderboard. And typically it's putting. So if we can get those guys out there early in the morning on the South Course, where it might not be as bumpy, hey, we might get a lower score. So course record -22 here, Tiger Woods. Justin Rose almost matched that last year with a -21. He was 2 strokes better than Adam Scott. All right, Justin Rose, unreal driver of the golf ball. Jason Day won the previous year in that Monday finish against Alex Noren and Ryan Palmer. But here's where we see some differences. Okay. And I'm not sure I have it figured out yet, but just kind of poring over some of the data, looking back at the past years, why is Justin Rose at -21 and everybody else is kind of in that 10, -10 for Jason Day, 13 for Ram, 6 for Sneds, 9 for Day, 9 for Stallings, 14 for Tiger. Partially weather. All right. I think that the weather definitely has something to do with it. And then if we look, the South Course just played easier last year. There was birdies to be had out there. But you look at 2018, looking at some of the scores, right? On the weekend, we had 50% of the golfers shoot par or worse, right? And 14% of those of the guys that made the cut. And then the guys that made the cut during the week, only 14% made par or worse. So on the weekend, it seems like some of these years where we're seeing lower scores, that's when we're seeing harder conditions on the weekend, whether that's weather, whether that's pin placement, things like that. So again, Jason Day, great driver of the golf ball in terms of distance, not very accurate. Somebody who can get away with a little bit. If you remember 2018, Jason Day skipped the Pro-Am on Wednesday. Everybody got off him. He came back and won for the second time here. And skipped. He was sick. I think he said he had a back injury too, if I'm not mistaken. Won that playoff over Noren and Palmer. Noren and Palmer, both excellent drivers of the golf ball. John Ram, boom, crushed it. Charles Howell, great driver of the golf ball. CT Pan is an interesting guy here, right? He was 3 strokes back. That means he shot -10, finished runner-up. CT got it done differently, right? CT was able to, just kind of come out, hit fairways and greens, and was really accurate. So, while, you want those guys who can bomb it, there's multiple ways to play this course. So yeah, it's a super long course, but a short guy like CT Pan can kind of get her up and down. Taking 3 shots to get into these 600-yard par 5s is not the end of the world, right? He's given himself 90 degrees in. If your wedge game's on, you're in good shape. That's how a guy that's right below in 2016 won, Brandt Snedeker, right? Like another guy who's not super long, but great wedge game, great around the green game. He's missing these greens. He's able to get up and down. And that's something I think we also need to look for this week. Jason Day, Scott Stallings, bomber, right? West Coast guy for sure. KJ Choi keeps popping up here. He's done pretty well. You look in 2014 runners up, Jason Day, Mark Leishman. I think that those Aussies are going to do really well here this week. And then just guys that, play well in California. Again, Fanshare Pro, you can go and start for California, start for Hawaii. These guys that are going to be dealing with some of these winds that are coming off the ocean. And then Tiger, you see that little 7 next to his name. It's insane to me that Tiger's won here 7 times. 8 if you include the win at the U.S. Open. Just ridiculous that you have somebody who's been as dominant as he's been. And Tiger's coming back this week. This is going to be his first event since the Prez Cup. So excited to see Tiger here. So looking at the kind of the scorecards and the South course. All right, what sticks out to me right away is that there's 4 long par 5s. We look at those distances. We got 560. Not super long, but over I always kind of look at 550 as a long par 5. And then 614, 616, 570. Just some bomb holes. We'll look here in a second kind of how they score on those holes, but these 600 yarders, they're 3-shotters, right? You're not going to get a lot of eagles, all right? And then not only do we have long par 5s, but we have long par 3s, 200, 176, that's a short one, 221, 223, okay? Long par 3s and long par 5s. What's that telling me? You got to get guys that are good long iron players, guys that are going to be able to hit 4 and 5 iron into these greens. Okay. You also consider, you think that, okay, well, not only do we need good long iron players, but if you got a guy who's long off the tee, he's going to be hitting a shorter club into some of these holes as well. So that's why I think a guy like last year, Adam Scott made a ton of sense, right? He's a great driver of the golf ball. He's a great long iron player, not in the field this year. We got a good mix of par 4s, not a lot of short par 4s on Torrey. That's going to be the exact opposite here on the North course, where we get a bunch of shorter par 4s, a bunch of shorter par 5s, right? So this is a little bit more of a wedge game course, all right? The guys are going to be having a lot of short clubs in. Now, it's almost not even worth saying, because I think when you're thinking about your lineups here, you're talking about 3 days at the South course. So I'm not going to just target guys who are good short par 4 players, things like that, because you're just the amount of short wedges that you're going to have in your hand when you're having to play the South course for 3 days, right? Like it's just not going to be there. So I think that guys are going to play well at the North course. I think that if you're going to, dive into showdown, things like that, you can maybe play some of these guys that are a little bit shorter off the tee that are going to maybe be able to tear up this course, but struggle at the South course. But for the most part, I'm just going to use Torrey South as my basis for my builds. We look here, driving distance. You actually drive it a little bit further on the North course on average, just because of the way that kind of the holes are routed. You don't need forced layups, things like that. But again, we look at driving accuracy. Neither of them have very high driving accuracy. Anything over, I think I only have like 69, 70 courses in my database. So 60, 62 is definitely, not very accurate, right? But you can get away with it here. Greens and reg, much easier to hit at Torrey North. Lots more eagles, twice as many eagles at Torrey North as there is at Torrey South. Okay. Not a lot of pars and a lot of bogeys. All right. Torrey, not a lot of double, or North, not a lot of double bogeys, but 44th for at the South. We don't have shot tracker data at the North course, which is always annoying. But you see I talk about those long approaches, right? So 1% more, 175 to 200 strokes than the average, and 5% more 200 yard plus shots at Torrey South. So when we look at the South course, right, where's the scoring coming from? What are we looking at for guys here? So, this short par 4, number 2 playing under par. The 200 yard par 3 actually played fairly easy, but the par 5s, right, that's where we're going to score. Okay, 614, still the easiest hole on the course, right? 614 yards. Some of you guys that listen to this that take you. I bomb it. No, I'm just kidding. That's an easy 3-shotter for me if I keep it in the fairway. If I'm not 300 yards to the right, I'd be lucky to make par here. But these guys are playing it at almost half a stroke under par. Not a lot of opportunities here as we look for streaks on the South course, right? Par 5, that's only playing 0.16. That's not very good. You do have a nice closing stretch here on the South. With the 442, with the par 4 and the par 5. But man, it just, what sticks out, last year played 0.269 under par at the South course, 31 eagles, 1,000 birdies, lots of pars. Anytime we get more birdies and bogeys, that's always a plus. But it's just, it's a tough course. It's a tough course. It boggles my mind that guys got to minus 21 last year here. Really though, this is why, right? Torrey North played, exceedingly under par, minus 2.159. So like Justin Rose last year shot 63 on day one. Well, he's nine under par now, right? So he's got 3 rounds to go, he can go 4 under a day and be in good shape, right? So you really, like, if you want to be in contention this week, you have to tear up the North, right? But then you got to be able to play the other course, the rest of the course, pretty well as well. So like I said, I'm not focusing on it, but when you're watching your lineups this week, you need to see your guys smashing it on the North course. You won't see it because we won't have shot tracker, but at least you'll see your scores. Some of the guys that have some good history here, I think this is really important this week. We've seen guys that played well here in the past, do well here again, right? Your Brandt Snedekers, your Ryan Palmer, CT Pan's been pretty successful here over the years, right? Rory Mack, Dougie Gim, Seaweed Doug, Doug Gimchi, my boy. I love Doug Gim. He's going to be in some lineups for me this week, but he's done pretty well here over the years, or in his one appearance. 94 DK points, just insanely low ownership. A guy like Gary Woodland, I think it's hard. We don't have the pricing yet. It's hard to tell who's going to get overlooked. But I think a guy like Rory, who's probably going to garner the top price this week, with the field, I probably be around like 11-2, 11-3 with Ram right below him. Maybe Rory gets overlooked. And I think that, he's only played here once, but I think that he was 5th here last year. I think that he can absolutely smash this course. He's getting ready. The guy's been just unreal for the last, John Ram too, right? I don't think Ram's going to go overlooked by any means. I think that he'll be priced below Rory, which will increase his ownership. I'm only going back, the Fanshare database only goes back 4 or 5 years. So one guy we don't see here is Tiger Woods. He was very mediocre here last year. He finished 20th. No T Woods here. He's obviously going to be, I think, extremely popular this week. He's likely to be priced right around 10K, which I think that people are going to start their lineups with him. So definitely interesting. I think Wyndham Clark, a West Coast guy, definitely interesting here. He played here last year. Guy just bombs it off the tee. He's not super accurate. I like him. I think he can go back to the CT Pan. Jason Day, obviously. JB Holmes. I think that a guy that's not on here, that was your second a couple of years ago, Alex Noren. I really like that he finished like 14th today. He shot like 3 under. Didn't go crazy. Didn't climb up the leaderboard. He's going to be right in that like 7.6, 7.9K range. And I think he makes a ton of sense. He's playing great golf right now. Lanto, Gooch. I thought Gooch finished really strong today. He's going to be, I think he might end up being chalky right around 7K. So here's where I'm at. I'm just going with Rory. Like I'm not going to overthink this one. I think Rory's the best golfer in the world right now. I think he's at this point in time, I think he's the best golfer in the world. I think that he's going to come in here and dominate, start to finish, really just tear this course up. Tiger, I think, is going to be one of the high-owned guy that busts. I think that his game is just kind of there. He was okay at the Pres Cup. I think Justin Thomas really carried him a lot. So I think he's going to be popular because of the price, and people are going to talk about 7 wins here, U.S. Open. Like, the people are going to be all over him this week. I think he'll get a lot of buzz on Fanshare. So he's going to be my chalk donkey this week. That's not going to say I'm not going to play him. I just think that he's going to be very high owned. And I think he might be. I mean, obviously we're here on Sunday. It might be worth fading him this week. And then my sleeper this week is going to be Brandon Wu. Brandon Wu, guy you might remember from last year's U.S. Open at Pebble Beach. Did very well there. Was the Loam, I believe, missed his graduation, Stanford. So he's played a ton of golf out here. Just missed a cut over at the Hong Kong Open, which was kind of a gong show. That's where his family's from. So that's why he went back there and played. Obviously got a sponsor invite to the Asian Tour. So not a super comfortable situation. I'm sure he had a ton of media on him all week. Now gets to come back, play Torrey. Of course, he's played before. Obviously, he's done well on a U.S. Open setup at Pebble. So this isn't going to be the U.S. Open, but he's long off the tee. He's accurate. If his putter gets hot, he can go super low. Made the cut at the Mayakoba earlier this fall. So he's got his first taste of the PGA Tour. I think this is a really good spot for him. He's going to be like 6'1", 6'2". So if you're going to play Rory, you can punt a guy like Brandon Wu, who is, I think a talent that we're going to hear a lot of. it's almost, in my opinion, we're looking for guys that are going to be who's this year's Victor Hovland, who's this year's Matt Wolff, right? Woo's not as heralded as those guys, but had a very, very successful college career. He's 22 years old. He's now turned pro. He's going to get these sponsor exemptions and try to play well enough, similar to Morikawa and those guys last year. So try to get on the Woo train early here. Hopefully he ends up like those guys and not like Norman Jiang. So again, that's what I got. Be on the lookout. We've got the under the radar picks by Lee Aldrich, who's been crushing. He really smashed Euro this week. Had Lee Westwood and Sean Norris in his article, which is fantastic. Again, use that code 20% off. Josh gets you Fanshare Pro membership. And yeah, you can get access to all of our ownership projections. You get my lineup break, my lineup construction breakdown, looking at ownership, how you can differentiate yourself in GPPs. That's what I got for you this week. Hopefully be a good Farmers Insurance Open. I'm looking forward to DK pricing for odds to come out tomorrow. And we'll see you guys in the Discord once you become Fanshare Pro members, if you're not already. Thanks, guys.